Fitzwilliam Darcy Esquire. The name just rolls off the tongue. But what is it about Mr. Darcy that has driven us to consider him one of the best leading males around? And why is there always such discussion on who plays Darcy best? My name is Brianna Michelle Meyer, and this is the Great Fitzwilliam Darcy Off, for virtual JaneCon 2024. If you have not seen my previous VJC videos before, you might not know that I am someone who loves to look at modern day adaptations of Jane Austen's work. Last year I took a detour and focused on the lack of Northanger Abbey adaptations. In 2022 I focused on Clueless and how it started a modern day classic literature adaptation renaissance. But in 2021, I did a retrospective on the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. All roads truly lead back to Darcy. I had a plan for this video. I was going to watch all of the easily accessible adaptations of Pride and Prejudice, both film and TV, and then rank the Darcy of it all. I bought a microphone to make recording easier. But then I realized a few things as I started my research. One, there's a lot of versions out there. And I truly mean a lot. In the doobly-doo below, wait, do people still call it that? I have a link to a document that shows all the film and TV adaptations of Pride and Prejudice, and you'll see what I mean when I say it's a lot. Then I found something else out entirely. I am not the first person to do this. I have a playlist down below of videos that are similar to this one, and I know that these videos took a lot longer than this one. If I wanted to do this video justice, I had to have started watching everything last year. And to be fair, I did do a video about the Lizzie Bennet Diaries a few years back. I promised the people Wishbone. Sadly, our favorite four-legged friend will not make the cut for this. However, I firmly believe that if we got a Muppet version of Pride and Prejudice, I would be able to rank Wishbone into this conversation more easily. And besides, Wishbone would have won. I had a pivot. Suddenly, I had an idea. Movie trailers. Now, before you go, Brianna, movie trailers? That's such a cop-out. I need you to hear me out. I love movie trailers. I've always been the kid who goes to movies early to make sure she gets to watch every single trailer. Back when DVDs were popular, I would never skip the coming soon to own section. No, I watched them all. When iTunes had a movie trailer section, I downloaded them all. And let's not forget that Amanda Woods in The Holiday creates movie trailers for a living. Movie and TV show trailers are supposed to let us, the viewers, get interested in what's coming out. Most of them are between 1 to 3 minutes long. In that short amount of time, we are either given the entire plot of the movie or show, or we leave with more questions than answers and really want to see it so we can see what happens. With that being said, here's how we're doing this. I have a playlist linked below of the various different trailers for Pride and Prejudice adaptations. There's a lot since I wanted to look at different trailers. A few films have different versions of the same trailer. A few shows have that as well. I'll give some information about the adaptation before I dive into my thoughts on the trailer. I'll be asking the following 3 questions. 1. How is the page to screen? 2. How is the Elizabeth Darcy connection? 3. How is the Darcyness? There is a Darcy system for each of these questions. The first is worth 2 Darcys. The second is question 3 Darcys. And the last question 5 Darcys. That leaves us with a total of 10 Darcys. Here are the versions I'll be ranking. Pride and Prejudice 1940, Pride and Prejudice 1995, Bridget Jones's Diary 2001, Pride and Prejudice, A Latter-day Comedy 2003, Bride and Prejudice 2004, Pride and Prejudice 2005, The Jane Austen Book Club 2007, Jane Austen 2008, Austenland 2013, Death Comes to Pemberley 2013, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies 2015, Fire Island 2022. I'll explain why the Jane Austen Book Club is in here later. Before we officially begin, I want to remind everyone that art is subjective. These are my thoughts and my opinions. You might think my opinion is wrong. That's okay. This is what makes art so fascinating and interesting. This is why we have such strong opinions. It's my hope that we look at these adaptations in a different way. So with that being said, let's get started. The 1940 adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. My longtime foe. Mini Sir Laurence Olivier rant incoming. Here's the thing, I don't mind him as a stage actor. I think he was one of the best actors to grace the stage. His screen presence has never felt right to me. I don't know what it is that has made me not like this man on film, but I don't. There are so many things to discuss about this film, but thankfully other people have done that for me. The role of Elizabeth Bennet was played by Greer Garson, who basically was an MGM star back in the studio system day. And by now you might have guessed that Darcy was played by Olivier. The film was directed by Robert Z. Leonard, a man whose filmography is so large that it includes both the silent film era and the rise of the talkies. The screenplay was written by Aldous Huxley and Jane Muffin, using the stage play by Helen Jerome. They didn't use the book; they used the play. Starting strong right at the bat. And they even say that in the movie trailer that it's based on the play and the book. And yes, that is the man who wrote Brave New World, who wrote the screenplay. Duality. I just need to rant about the trailer for a second. 5 love-hungry sisters. Dear movie trailer maker, the only person love-hungry for all 5 was Mrs. Bennet. Now, judging by the trailer, the questionable page to screen is a 0. I've also seen this version twice, and every time I watched it, I scream inside. The Elizabeth Darcy connection isn't that bad at all either. I'd give it a 2. But Olivier's Darcy, his Darcyness is a 2 for me, and I think that truly goes back to the page to screen of this film being based on the stage play, not the actual book. I am so glad other people have talked about this version before. Pride and Prejudice featuring Olivier Darcy gets a total of 4 out of 10 Darcys. Moving on. In 1995, something happened. Something changed the trajectory of all Jane Austen adaptations. The 1995 TV miniseries of Pride and Prejudice truly changed lives. I was a very young child when it first aired, and I really wish I was older so I could have experienced this in real time. This version of Pride and Prejudice starred Jennifer Earle as Elizabeth Bennet and Colin Firth as Darcy. More on him later. The director of this adaptation was Simon Langton. This is his best-known work, but he is the son of actor David Langton, who was in the original Upstairs Downstairs. The screenwriter was Andrew Davies, and that is a name you have heard before, especially last year. This man has written so many adaptations, especially Jane Austen ones. With a runtime of 327 minutes, it's easy why people refer to this as the most accurate of them all. And if you have only watched the 1940 version before this, it would have felt like a breath of fresh air. I watched 2 trailers for this one. The first one promoting the keepsake edition of the adaptation for DVD, while the other was promoting the restored version on BritBox. Both trailers have a few scenes that overlap, but they were both cut differently. The keepsake edition trailer gives away the ending of the story. To be fair, the book has been out for 200 years by now. The BritBox trailer gives more of a tropey enemies to lovers vibe. Yet both trailers showed the pond scene. Is the scene in the book? No. Am I okay with it? Absolutely. The scene has become so iconic that it was called back in Bridgerton Season 2 and in the Bridget Jones's Diaries films. With all that in mind, I give the page of screen 2 Darcys. I think because the length of the show as well as how the trailers are made that it's a great adaptation. The Elizabeth Darcy connection is a 3. There's so much tension between the 2 actors that slowly thaws away. I love it. As for the Darcyness, I give Firth a 4 here. It's awkward and lovely at the same time. That brings us to a grand total of 9 out of 10 Darcys for this adaptation. Let's talk about Colin Firth for a second. This TV show created a creative boom for the man, and yet he started to get typecasted. The roles he had after this show all started to feel the same, and yet I'm okay with it because it created Colin Firth. Would these roles not have happened? Would we not have gotten him in the Kingsman films? In 1996, Helen Fielding published a novel that started as journal columns. The novel, Bridget Jones's Diary. Bridget Jones's Diary is a loose adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. Maybe it's better to call it a novel inspired by Pride and Prejudice. The novel came out at a perfect time because the United Kingdom was in a bit of a Jane Austen revival of some sort. And what better use of capitalizing this buzz than having Colin Firth himself play Mark Darcy? Our Elizabeth Bennet, or Bridget Jones, is played by none other than Renee Zellweger, an American. This was something common in the time of Jane Austen adaptations. And what makes it a bit better, our Wickham stand-in is played by Hugh Grant, another one of the it actors in the 90s. Produced by Miramax, one of the production companies of the 90s and aughts, the screenwriters for this film were Andrew Davies, Richard Curtis, and the novelist Helen Fielding. Andrew Davies, what can I tell you? He's written so much. He wrote Four Weddings and a Funeral, Notting Hill, Love Actually, which all starred Hugh Grant. Helen Fielding went on to continue to adapt the other two Bridget Jones films, but Far From the Way. The director Sharon Maguire went on to direct 2016's Bridget Jones's Diary. Baby. So just by watching the trailer, it's a very late 90s, early aughts film. A lot of jokes do not hold up at all. There are so many issues with this film, and I stayed watching. Let's get ranking. First, Mark Darcy for Page the Screen is a bit hard for me to judge since I've never read the book. I've read Pride and Prejudice, but not Bridget Jones's Diary. But knowing that the screenwriting team is a pretty solid one, a British film powerhouse duo, plus the original author, I can assume that any source material changes were done with the blessing of the author. I'll give it 1 out of 2 Darcys. The Elizabeth Darcy connection for this one is unique. Bridget and Mark knew each other as kids. Bridget and Mark always find each other at times when the other is not having it. It's funny and ironic, but also towards the end of the film, you realize that these two do belong together. Their families and their lives will just make it a bit of a bumpy road. There's going to be a 4th film, so I think this film did okay enough. 3 out of 3 Darcys. Colin Firth has the privilege of saying he has played the same role twice in 2 different versions, but in this version, I give the Darcyness a 3. I kept thinking of his character in Love Actually than him as Mark Darcy in the film, which came out after this movie. This was also his second time playing this character, so he might have given his all the first time around. Leaderboard check. First Darcy is at 9 Darcys. Firth's second Darcy is at 7 Darcys. Olivia's Darcy is at 4 Darcys. The 2000s was a great time to be a Jane Austen fan because there were so many films and adaptations coming out. 2003 saw the release of Pride and Prejudice, a latter-day comedy. Now, I feel like most people don't know this version exists. If you haven't seen it before or watched the trailer, I highly recommend watching it. It's a modern-day adaptation of Pride and Prejudice set in early 2000s Provo, Utah. It has that classic 90s teen comedy vibe. In this version, Elizabeth is an aspiring writer. The director of the film was Andrew Black, with a screenplay by Anne Black, Jason Fowler, and Catherine Swigert. Sam Heskin played Cam Heskin, played Elizabeth Bennet, and Lando Seal as Will Darcy. For Page the Screen, I give this a 0. Remember, I'm basing this on watching the trailer, and you can tell there are a lot of changes. However, the Elizabeth Darcy connection is a 3. There's so much to like about their chemistry in this trailer that makes you want to watch the movie. As for the Darcyness, I give Orlando Seal's Darcy a solid 3. Overall, the movie gets 6 out of 10 Darcys. In 2004, Jane Austen went Bollywood. And who must we thank for this? The director of one of the best movies of all time, Bend It Like Beckham, as well as the director of Agnes, Thongs, and Perfect Snogging, Gurinder Chadha. An icon of icons. This film is just one of my favorites. The screenplay was written by herself and Paul Medabergs, who is also her husband. Icon Ashirar Ray portrayed Lalita Bakshi, or Elizabeth Bennet. Martin Henderson as Will Darcy. You might know him from a little show called Virgin River. This cast list is so stacked too. Naveen Andrews is in it. Also, may have not have watched clips of the dance scenes many times. And I definitely have butchered some names, but I am currently recovering from my cold still. So, I watched both the US and UK trailers for this film because they were cut differently. This helped me with my ranking. For Page to Screen, I give this a 1. The changes that are made do make sense, but some aspects of it don't. For Elizabeth Darcy connection, I would say this is a 2. Both leads are great in the scenes shown. There's ice at first that slowly starts to thaw. However, Martin Henderson's Darcyness is a 3 for me. Don't get me wrong, I love the man. He's a fantastic actor. He certainly has range. Maybe it was because of how the script was, but this isn't the best Darcy out there. With the clips provided, it doesn't show all the aspects of Darcy. Overall, Martin Henderson's Darcy gets 6 out of 10 Darcys. Leaderboard check. First Darcy at 9 Darcys. Second Darcy at 7 Darcys. Orlando Seale's Darcy at 6 Darcys. Martin Henderson's Darcy at 6 Darcys. Olivier's Darcy at 4 Darcys. In 2005, something happened. Something changed the way we all view anything, I fear. 2 simple words. Hand flex. Oh yes, it is time. We're discussing this beautiful piece of art because the 2005 Pride and Prejudice is truly art. Before I dive in, let's all take a moment to pay our respects to dear Mr. Bennet himself, Donald Sutherland. Directed by Joe Wright and a screenplay by Deborah Morgic, the 2005 Pride and Prejudice is considered by many to be the best of all the adaptations. Keira Knightley played Elizabeth Bennet, while Matthew Macfayden played Darcy. This film is monumental for a few reasons. This film is the first feature film adaptation of the novel since the 1940 version with Olivier. The other feature film versions were modern-day adaptations. Secondly, this film started a partnership between Joe Wright and Keira Knightley. Thirdly, this cast is so talented. For many of them, this was one of their first roles or breakout role. The Bennet sisters are played by Rosamund Pike, Keira Knightley, Jenna Malone, Carey Mulligan, and Tallulah Riley. Plus, without this movie, would we have ever gotten Tom Robkins? No, I think not. Okay, let's get ranking. Page to screen is a 2 for this one. Changes made? Yes. Do they make sense? Yes. I quote this movie regularly. Elizabeth Darcy connection is a 2 here. The reason I'm giving it as a 2 is because of the ending. Now, if you know what I'm going to talk about, you will understand why. If you don't, let me explain. You see, there are 2 versions of this film. There's a UK version that ends with Mr. Bennet saying to send the next one in since he has 2 more dollars to marry. And then there's the US version, which is shown in the trailer I watched. This scene was added for American audiences to show the Darcys in love. We really and truly didn't need this to be added. We knew they were in love. Matthew Macfadyen's Darcy is a 5 out of 5. He's perfectly awkward. The hand flex in itself, please. I love it. I want more of that. Overall, this is 9 out of 10 Darcys. Now, we're at the part where I need to talk about the Jane Austen book club. I'm not including it in my spreadsheet, but I still wanted to talk about it because it felt like a perfect way to segue into Lost in Austen, Austenland, and Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. The Jane Austen book club was originally a novel released in 2004. The premise of the book and the 2007 movie are essentially the same. Members of the book club all have one Austen novel they are in charge of and host their event. However, the books start mirroring their lives. We're entering the section of the video I'm nicknaming Let's Rewrite Things. The Jane Austen Book Club is the unofficial start of this era of adaptations that took Pride and Prejudice and made it their own. That means it's time for Lost in Austen. Released in 2008 from the BBC, this is a fantasy version of Pride and Prejudice in which Amanda Price gets transported into the novel and ends up changing the results. Jemima Roper played Amanda Price and Elliot Coben played Fitzwilliam Darcy. It was directed by Dan Zeff and written by Guy Andrews. The trailer for this is enjoyable, and yes, there is a callback to the infamous 1995 Pride and Prejudice pond scene. The pond scene really changed the world, I fear. I give the page to screen a 1 since this is a bit of a topsy-turvy show. The Elizabeth Darcy connection here is going to be a 1 because Amanda isn't Elizabeth. There's an Elizabeth Bennet in this, but the trailer makes it hard for you to even know who she is. As for Darcyness, I give it a 2. It's a bit hard to read Elliot Coben's Darcy in this trailer because we're getting it from Amanda's perspective, how she's changed the novel. Overall, this will get 4 out of 10 Darcys. First Darcy at 9 Darcys. Matthew Macfadyen's Darcy is at 9 Darcys. Second Darcy at 7 Darcys. Orlando Seale's Darcy at 6 Darcys. Martin Henderson's Darcy at 6 Darcys. Olivia's Darcy had four Darcys. Elliot Coben's Darcy is at four Darcys. Austenland, my sweet, sweet Austenland. Based on the book by Shannon Hale, this movie is a delight and a half. The trailer tells you exactly what you expect. Released in 2013, Austenland was directed by Jersha Hess and written by Jersha Hess and Shannon Hale. Fun fact, Hess was the writer of Napoleon Dynamite. I need a quick outfit change. Be right back. So, we all know I love Tilney. I have to wear the shirt just for this portion. Our Elizabeth stand-in for this is Carrie Russell as Jane Hayes, while our Darcy stand-in is J.J. Feld as Mr. Henry Nobley. We love one man and one man only. Only the ranking for this one is once again going to be a bit off. However, I do feel like this will be a bit clearer than compared to Lost in Austen. The page of screen is two Darcys because I know that any changes from the book to film were approved by Shannon Hale because she was one of the screenwriters. The Elizabeth Darcy connection is two Darcys as well. However, J.J. Feld, as much as I love you, you're getting two for this Darcyness. That gives Austenland 6 out of 10 Darcys. However, I have watched this movie many times. It is so fun, and please, stay for the credits. Outfit changeover. There are only 3 more versions we're going to discuss here. The first is Death Comes to Pemberley. There's an old saying that goes, BBC, nothing says holiday cheers than holiday tears. It is a custom in the UK around the Christmas and New Year seasons to air specials. Some of these specials are heartbreaking, like the series finale of Merlin or the 2012 Downton Abbey Christmas special. In 2013, the BBC released a 3-part adaptation of the book by P.D. James, Death Comes to Pemberley. It's Jane Austen, but murder mystery. Basically a recipe for success for Christmas television in the UK. Directed by Daniel Percival and written by Juliet Towhiddy, this adaptation starred Anna Maxwell Martin as Elizabeth Darcy and Matthew Rice as Darcy. These are 2 of my favorite actors from the UK. I've been a fan of Anna Maxwell Martin since North and South. She also played Cassandra Austen in Becoming Jane and was in Bleak House as Esther Summerson, written by who else but Andrew Davies. Also, George Wickham was played by Matthew Goode, who is a true chameleon of an actor. Basically, the BBC went, find all the popular heavy hitters and get them in this. It worked. I had to watch the BBC trailer and PBS Masterpiece trailer for this one. The BBC is famous for trailers being teaser trailers. That trailer played on the mystery more as well as the suspense. The Masterpiece trailer played with mystery but also created a sense of foreboding. The page to screen for this is a run for me, mainly because I'm not familiar with the novel it's based on. The Elizabeth Darcy connection is a 3. Anna Maxwell Martin and Matthew Rice in the trailer alone show how much Elizabeth and Darcy have grown to love each other in the years after Pride and Prejudice ended. As for Darcyness, I give Matthew Rice a 3. Once again, a bit unfamiliar with the book, but this trailer made me want to watch this miniseries and then binge read every single Jane Austen-inspired mystery book there is. Overall, Matthew Rice's Darcy is 7 Darcys. So where are we on this leaderboard? First Darcy at 9 Darcys. Matthew Macfayden's Darcy is at 9 Darcys. Second Darcy is at 7 Darcys. Matthew Rice's Darcy at 7 Darcys. Orlando Seale's Darcy at 6 Darcys. Martin Henderson's Darcy at 6 Darcys. J.J. Feld's Henry Nobley at 6 Darcys. Olivia's Darcy is at 4 Darcys. Elliot Coleman's Darcy is at 4 Darcys. Whew. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is fun. Based on the 2009 satire parody of the same name by Seth Grahame-Smith, this movie is truly what the title says it is. It's Pride and Prejudice, but there are zombies. Written and directed by Burr Steers, the 2016 adaptation starred Lily James as Elizabeth Bennet and Sam Riley as Mr. Darcy. But that's not all. Matthew Smith was Collins and Douglas Booth was Mr. Bingley. This movie truly made for me in mind. Douglas Booth was dark academia before it was a thing. Matt Smith, he's Matt Smith. And I adore Lily James and always have since she was in Downton Abbey as Rose. I ended up watching 3 trailers for this movie because there were so many made for the advertising campaign. While each trailer did have scenes overlap, they all felt different in their own way. Page to screen adaptation is a 2. Why? What I saw on screen matched the title. The Elizabeth Darcy connection is a 3. The second trailer I watched confirmed that feeling because apparently Darcy would do anything for Elizabeth. I was sold right away between them. As for the Darcyness, it's a solid 3. Sam Riley does a great job as Darcy. However, I am way more drawn to Elizabeth Bennet. She's a zombie slayer. Overall, Sam Riley's Darcy gets 8 Darcys out of 10. Last but not least, we are at Fire Island. Fire Island, I love you. I love you so much. Released in 2022, Fire Island is a modern day take on Pride and Prejudice following a group of gay friends on their annual trip to Fire Island. Directed by Andrew Ahn and written by Joel Kim Booster, it starred Joel Kim Booster as Noah, our Elizabeth Bennet, and Conrad Ricamora as Will, our Fitzwilliam Darcy for the film. I have been a huge fan of Conrad Ricamora since he was on How to Get Away with Murder. Also, this movie has Bo and Yang in it. For page of screen, I give this a 1. There are a lot of liberties taken in it, so it isn't a straight up true adaptation, but it's still so well done. For Elizabeth Darcy connection, I give this a 3. Both Joel Kim Booster and Conrad Ricamora are fantastic as Noah and Will. For the Darcyness, I'm giving Conrad Ricamora a 4. Conrad brings Darcy to the modern age in a way I've never seen before. It feels realer and not as forced as other modern day versions. Overall, Conrad Riccamora's Darcy gets 8 out of 10 Darcys. Okay, every adaptation has been covered, which means it's time to see the final ranking. Firth's first Darcy at 9 Darcys. Matthew's Darcy is at 9 Darcys. Conrad Riccamora's Darcy is at 8 Darcys. Sam Riley's Darcy is at 8 Darcys. Firth's second Darcy is at 7 Darcys. Matthew Rice's Darcy is at 7 Darcys. Orlando Seale's Darcy at 6 Darcys. Martin Henderson's Darcy at 6 Darcy. J.J. Field's Henry Nobley at 6 Darcys. Olivier's Darcy is at 4 Darcys. Elliot Cohen's Darcy is at 4 Darcys. And there you have it. The great Fitzwilliam Darcy Off is complete. It is time for a new feature-length adaptation of the novel. 2025 will mark 20 years since we got the Handflax. Until then, my name is Rand Michelle Meyer. This is Virtual JaneCon 2024, and I truly hope you enjoyed the great Fitzwilliam Darcy Off. Make sure you check the links down below to watch the trailers and other videos related to Pride and Prejudice discussions.